one of the things that we can expect a lot of, especially at the start of next year, is even more lack of transparency in our government, and especially around the areas of trade negotiations. We've been really fortunate, to be honest, to be in the European Union, because one of the main benefits of being in the European Union is that we've seen what actually goes on behind the closed doors when it comes to negotiating trade deals. So we've seen actually how good the EU is multiple times at negotiating trade deals. And despite the fact that Brexiteers like to say that the EU does deals at the 11th hour, that's not true. It is done through months and even years of long negotiations. And as a result, the EU has done some incredible deals. Just recently, with Canada, Mexico, Japan. There's even rumours of a EU US deal supposedly in the works. Who knows when it will fully come to fruition, but we'll see. And one of those reasons why the trade deals, we know so much about them. In fact, this is how we originally heard about the TTP. This is how it actually came about, because Canada had to tell the EU, when it was doing its deal with Europe, how the TTP was going to affect Canada and maybe its trade relations. So it had to tell the EU what was going on. And as a result, that's how news, spun out, and we all learned about it. And they'll say, "Oh no, the TTP is bad, bad, bad," and etc., etc. And that's the only reason you know about what was in the TTP. All trade deals, except like the one the EU does, are done behind closed doors. So you never know what's actually on the deal until the ink is literally drying on the paper. And by then, it could be very well too late to actually make any noise about what's going on, or oh no, this is going to affect our economy or this industry really badly. So, there are reasons for this. Now, one of the things it's hard to really discuss, but from the point of what we call the Brexit ultras, the ultra people who've always, thirsting for Brexit, they've always wanted a no deal, despite the fact, again, doing numerous interviews, people like Daniel Hannan, who is now saying that no deal is a preferred option. That's what he wants. And apparently it will be all fine. Go back to the referendum, and you will see him in an interview where someone from the Remain side says that leaving will mean leaving the single market and customs union. His response to that would: only a fool would leave the single market and customs union. So clearly, Daniel Hannan is now the biggest fool in history, because that is what he's clearly trying to do. And remember, we've already discussed before that the EU officials feel like they're not negotiating with someone. They feel like they're more negotiating with an ideologue. And if you've ever talked to someone who's like a really hardcore like Christian creationist, you will know the feeling. If you remember those very early days back in YouTube where it was like the atheists versus the Christian fundamentalists, if you ever got involved in one of those debates, you'll know just how crazy and wacky they were. But this is how the EU negotiators feel. In fact, this comes from Euronews today, and the title is "The Brexit Talks. Barnier slams UK stance," and it says Britain not seeking a clean break from the EU at all. And this one's, this is where we come from the ideal of, the Brexit ultras want a no deal. That's their preferred scenario. It always was, despite the fact that they've argued differently in the past, literally sometimes only a year later, to change the stance completely. Now you have this other point where Barnier is saying, well, they don't actually want a clean break at all, despite what they're saying. This goes back to the fact that the UK wants to have, and it knows that it is crucial to have, market access to the EU. However, repeatedly, these Brexiteers are also at odds because they don't want to follow EU rules. So, how can you access, we've one of the first analogies I ever came up with, or, well, I can't remember, no, I didn't come up with it, I heard about it, I think it was James O'Brien, and it was: how can you be a member of a gym being a paying member of a gym, and then leave the membership, yet still demand the same level of access to that gym that, you were as a paying member. Quite frankly, you just don't get the same level of access. And this somehow seems to be a hard concept for the Tories and the Brexiteers themselves to actually somehow grasp. So, anyway, it comes on to the article. So, Michel Barnier has launched another blistering attack on the UK's post-Brexit stance, going further than usual in outlining how, in his view, the British government is seeking to have its cake and eat it. The EU's chief negotiator accused the UK of failing to engage constructively in talks on the future relationship, one of his starkest warnings yet on the lack of progress towards a deal. Speaking at a virtual event organised by Ireland's Institute of International and European Affairs, Barnier said that an agreement had to be struck by the end of October to allow time for ratification. The post-Brexit transition period expires on December 31st, heralding major changes when the UK, which formally left the EU last January, leaves the single market and customs union. But progress over the summer in talks and trade and future ties has been painfully slow. Barnier accused the British of failing to give guarantees that future competition would be on a fair footing, and spelt it out in the political and as spelt out in the political declaration, the non-binding part of the divorce deal agreed by both sides, which forms the basis for the talks on the future relationship. You see, it's fun because I get a lot of Brexit supporters saying that how can the EU do this? The UK agreed to these terms when it signed that withdrawal agreement. And here's the thing. Let's say no deal happens and these negotiations fall through. All the EU are going to do is just slide that paper back across and just say, you're not getting a deal until you sign that. They are in a stronger position. And this is, goes against, which is, again, funny again, because, apparently we held all the cards. But there you go. He also claimed that despite the UK's desire for independence from the EU, in practice it was seeking the status quo without obligations. What have we been saying on this channel for the past 4 years at this point? No matter how much time has passed, nothing has changed, which is the most infuriating part of all this. But, there you go. That's because, the Brexiteers just didn't understand the EU. Anyway, it continues. We know well the UK's argument. You want a clean break from the EU. You want full sovereignty and the freedom it's set to set its own rules and spend its own money as it wants, with no constraints from Europe, Barnier said. And yet, the truth is that British negotiators are still seeking continuity in many areas and not a clean break at all, he added. The UK government is still looking to keep benefits of the EU and the single market without the obligations. He went on, singling out transport, energy trading and standards for goods and cooperation on police and judicial matters. Barnier challenged the British agreements that it would be in the EU's interest to grant the UK privileged access to EU markets. On goods, British proposals on rules of origin mean that the UK could become an absolute hub for the EU, able to source goods from around the world and export them with very little alteration to the EU as British goods, tariff and quota free. UK suggestions on road transport would allow British truckers to drive on EU roads without having to comply with the same working conditions as EU drivers. Regarding air transport, British Airlines would be able to operate inside the EU without having to respect the same labour and environmental standards, the chief negotiator said. Which is why those level playing field things have to be there. If you want access to the EU, they've, we've said it before in multiple videos. The EU's been clear from day one. If you want access to the EU, you have to follow our rules. It's not that hard to get, guys. Really not that hard to get. So, failure to reach an agreement on state aid rules has been one of the sticking points in the talks. The EU has no wish to intervene in domestic British affairs, Barnier said, but it had to know the details of a future UK system to ensure that the British would not use newfound regulatory autonomy to distort competition. The Frenchman lambasted the UK position on fisheries, saying that without an agreement there could be no new economic partnership with the UK. The EU has repeatedly said that a deal on fishing policy must be part of an overall accord. Barnier said that the UK had shunned the EU's openness about possible solutions, but he also argued that the British position would lock out Ireland's fishermen and women from waters that they fished long before Ireland or the UK even joined the Economic European Community in 1973. And of course, the fishermen and women and many of the other EU countries. That's just not acceptable, he added. The chief negotiator also alleged the UK was reluctant to reach an agreement on future dispute settlements, saying that Brussels was simply asking London to translate its communications into legal text. Nothing more, nothing less. He's also accused the UK of seeking to diverge in other areas too, such as food standards, where he said that the British had failed to give adequate details for its future regulations. These are not technocratic details. These are essentials. And at stakes are tens of thousands of jobs and livelihoods, Irish jobs and livelihoods, our health and safety and well-being, our environment and our climate and our fundamental rights, Barnier concluded. So Barnier's comments reflect the growing frustration in EU circles that despite the imminent deadlines, talks have regressed at a snail's pace. He was speaking after returning from informal talks in London ahead of the next resumption of the formal negotiations next week on the 7th of September. The UK continues to seek a loose Canada-style free trade deal with the EU with a few obligations, even though it has been consistently ruled out by Brussels, which cites the UK's geography proximity to the continent. Following the last round of talks in August, the UK's chief British negotiator, David Frost, called on the EU to strike the sort of free trade deal it had concluded with other international partners and agree to particular arrangements of cooperation in other areas. The British government also repeated its appeal earlier this week after French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves I'm not how you say that. Yves Le Drian accused the UK of being intransigent and unrealistic attitude that was stalling the talks. The EU is still insisting not only that we must accept continuity with the EU state aid and fisheries policies, but also that this must be agreed before any further substantive work can be done in other areas of the negotiating, including on legal text, making it unnecessarily difficult to make progress, the UK government said. The end of the transition period will bring significant changes regardless of the outcome of the talks. Failure to reach a trade deal would see the UK and the EU trade on World Trade Organization terms, bringing significant tariffs and non-tariff barriers into play. And there you have it. It's the problem. Everyone, every Brexiteer supporter is going to say, "Oh well, clearly it's the EU problems here." No, the UK, when that deal was passed in Parliament and Parliament supported the withdrawal agreement, Parliament and the UK said that it would follow a very specific set of guidelines and rules laid down by the negotiating team. It's not that hard to understand, guys. The problem with these talks and why they are failing is not because of the EU, it is because the UK wants to have special privileged access and refuses to tell what the future is going to be on some of these things. So, it's not the EU that's at fault, guys, it's the UK. And we've been saying this right from the word go, but, sooner or later the penny will have to drop. And, drop sooner or later it will. But anyway, there you go. Thank you for watching. Please do like and share this video around. It helps out the channel. And if you are new, please do hit that subscribe button. We do talk a lot about Brexit on this channel, as well as British politics, because you can't talk about British politics without having to talk about Brexit. And trust me, this will be a fixture of our British political life for some time to come. So with that said, thank you very much. If you would like to support the channel in another way, there are links down below to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link should you like to support the channel that way. So with that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.